Oh, okay, folks. Hi, my name is Steve Gurney. I'm founder and publisher of Positive Aging Sourcebook, and I'm really excited to be having a conversation with some of the members, volunteers, and founders and staff members of villages in DC, in the District of Columbia, the DC villages. And today we have 4 different villages represented: Capitol Hill Village, Georgetown Village, Palisades Village, and Glover Park Village. And we're going to meet some of the folks behind these great community resources. And to kick things off, we're going to start with Capitol Hill Village, because Capitol Hill Village is actually one of the oldest villages in the country. And to kick things off, we've got 2 representatives, and that's Jeff and Judy. Welcome. Would you all like to formally introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about Capitol Hill Village?
Thank you, Steve. I'm Jeff Lewis, and I was the founder of Capitol Hill Village, along with a core group of people on Capitol Hill, the kind of people that you go back to time and again to get things done. We are the 2nd village in the country, modeled after Beacon Hill Village in Boston. And it just picked up, we just basically took their template and put it down on Capitol Hill because it fitted us extremely well. When we started, we had to figure out how to get things done. So we've been in business officially since 2007. We really started in January of 2006. One of the things that we quickly became aware of is that we wanted to give to the people of Capitol Hill and the older people a program, in a sense that we were there to do what they wanted, not that we were bringing stuff to them and they could opt in or out. But we found out that we had small group and homes where people told us what they wanted, whether they thought it was a good idea. And that kicked us off. We had a lot of sponsors, a lot of help, and we had to get certified, we had to get organized, and as a nonprofit organization, which we did with pro bono help. So that's one of the things about the villages. And we started off as a volunteer only person, but we've expanded now to we have 380 members, or Judy can correct me, but 380 plus members. We've had 2 or 3 executive directors. I was president for 2 or 3 years and then stepped aside because we needed to go in different directions and farther around. So I will stop there, but that's sort of the beginnings of a village where we gather people together and find out what they want and then provide those services, programs, et cetera, to them. Judy is current executive director. She's been with us for what, 2 years, Judy? 3?
Year and a half, about a year and a half.
Year and a half. Well,
What a long year and a half it's been, huh?
She's been vital to the success and further programming of Capitol Hill Village. And we designed one more thing. We did design a notebook, a sort of a how to do, and we introduced ourselves to various villages around the DC area. And I think that was helpful in having them come on board to focus for their groups in their particular areas. We didn't want to be a whole village for all of Washington, DC. That just does not work. But have individual communities have their own villages was the perfect way to do it. And I think DC is one of the premier places to have this, because we have a lot of elderly people and a lot of transient people who rely on others. We found out that seniors generally do not want to move away. They want to be where they have stayed in their own homes. They enjoy having younger kids around, younger people around. They enjoy talking to each other, having programs together. But let me segue that for you, Judy, and hope I didn't ruin your script.
Not at all, not at all. So I'm Judy Berman. I'm the executive director of Capitol Hill Village, and it has been, as I say, I joined a mature and well-established organization, and right at a perfect moment when I think the villages were really coming together throughout DC. So in many ways, I feel, Capitol Hill Village, while it has its own identity, feels very much part of the collaborative and part of a community effort. So that's been a real pleasure. Jeff and I actually talk every week because his input continues to be important. It's one of the things that I value most about the village movement is that it is created by and for its members. We were just talking this morning about how it feels less like we're staff and more like we're kind of stewards in a way, that we've been entrusted with this gift that villages are to the community, and are asked to kind of maintain it and keep it going. So Capitol Hill is a great community. Lots of really generous people, lots of civil servants, who really understand the public good, and I think that's probably true throughout DC. So we're very lucky to be running a village here.
I love it. And, Jeff, you talk about the Capitol, the village movement in general is so pioneering. And as you talked about figuring out, even though you had Beacon Hill as a model, sort of being the first one to replicate and the first one in this area, it's very entrepreneurial. It's this grassroots entrepreneurial effort, and it requires a lot of different ideas and trying things, and it's just been very exciting. So to observe. So the next village on the list,
Steve, I'd just like to say that although we modeled ourselves after Beacon Hill Village, there are many, many models of villages throughout the country. There's ones where they're rural and there's ones where they're urban. We were lucky that we could pick up on and practically model, but there are some that are very, very different.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it really requires a sense of entrepreneurship.
Every village is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And speaking of different villages, let's go to the next one here, which is Georgetown Village. And today we have Lynn and Ellen representing those two villages in DC. Tell us a little bit about Georgetown Village and your all's roles in that initiative.
Sure, Steve, thank you. I'm Lynn Gollum-Grafano. I'm the founding executive director of Georgetown Village. We were started in 2011. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, so we're pretty excited about that. Georgetown Village is a community-based village. I think all villages are, although of course each one is an individual village. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is our community involvement. During the past year and a half or so, during the pandemic, we were able to offer programming not just to our members, but to our community. We really believe in the value of community and the value of villages in building communities. So not only do we work with our members, and we do this through, of course, our wonderful volunteers, and you're about to meet one of them, but we also are really committed to the community that we serve. We partner with local businesses. As a matter of fact, we were recently contacted by a business that's opening in the community, and how we can work together and make it a community business. We try to make sure that our members and volunteers not only know each other, but know where they can get help in the neighborhood, and that as a neighborhood organization, we are enmeshed in different aspects of the community. We attend bid meetings, we attend the local citizens association meeting. As I mentioned, we've been providing programming for the community, and we do this with the help of community leaders. So while people may think of villages as being an organization that helps its members through the use of our local volunteers, I really want to stress the fact that we are larger than that, and that we do more for our local neighborhoods than just help our members. In terms of helping our members, we offer a variety of services in terms of transportation and grocery shopping, meal preparation. I recently, actually this morning, just got a phone call from someone who unfortunately lost a spouse, and we'll have volunteers out there to help direct traffic so that when they have the service, that parking will be available and people will know where to park. And speaking of our volunteers and the many things they do, including building heaters during the pandemic so people could enjoy their patios and being outside longer, I'd like to introduce one of our very active volunteers, Ellen Eisenberg, to talk a little bit about her role in the village. Ellen, thank you for being here today.
Hi, yeah, of course, happy to. My husband and I are relatively new to DC. We've been in Georgetown a couple of years. And shortly after we moved here, we were in a community farmers market, and we met Lynn sitting at a table advertising the village. And we're very happy to get involved. We are lucky to have the opportunity and some time that we can donate. For me, while I'm very happy to help go food shopping, put lights together, etc., meeting the members of the village has been, for me, some of the most rewarding parts of volunteering, getting to know them. Sometimes they would really just want conversation, and by the way, can you put my light together? Or, you know, when driving somebody to a doctor's appointment or the grocery store, I think some of the richest experiences, the time that we have to chat and get to know each other. There's such a wide variety of folks from different areas, different countries, different experiences, and there's so much for them to share, and we're very happy to be able to assist them in staying in the community as long as they're able to.
Well, that's great. And I really have, from all the folks that I've met who volunteer for the villages, have always sort of framed it similar to the way that Ellen has, is that, you know, started sort of volunteering to try to help out, but in reality, getting so much back from the friendships, the conversations, meeting the members, and especially in our communities, the members are the living history of our streets and neighborhoods, and just hearing the stories, you know, when you're driving somebody to an appointment, is very important, because when those folks are gone, the history goes with them. So that's great. Thank you,
Great.
Ellen and Lynn.
Yeah, thank you.
And the next village that we have is Palisades Village, and representing Palisades is Andrea and Mary.
Hi, I'm Andrea Sakosha, and I'm the Executive Director of Palisades Village. We are actually the second oldest village in DC, and we started off in 2007 and really got kicking in 2009. And I've been with the organization for 6 years, so I feel rather seasoned as well. And I feel so fortunate to be part of a community where our logo shows an open gate. And our newsletter is called Across the Fence. So it's basically hospitality, welcoming people to our community. It's so important, as Lynn touched upon, that community building is really important. And our motto is building an engaged and supportive community. And we try to do that in so many different ways by offering the community programs, social events. We offer member services, and we also have 2 separate types of memberships. So we offer kind of a social membership, so people can get more engaged. If they want to volunteer with us, they want to be part of our community. So we have these different types of getting to know you events. And then we have another membership, which is a full membership, which is more for folks need a little bit more. They need that little personal touch. And so as this happens, that some people maybe need a little extra transportation or reading or friendly visits, those relationships really blossom. And they can come in so many different forms of different types of volunteers that we have. We really promote our multi-generational experiences. So we have students working with us. We have high school students, we have college students that intern with us and want that kind of experience to get to understand our members a little bit better. And it's just such an enriching and positive experience. We also try to really foster our business partnerships and engage all of the other villages in so many things that we do. But our highest asset is really our volunteers. And it is my pleasure to introduce Mary Clute, who has been a volunteer for longer than I've been executive director. And she's done so many wonderful things, from things helping like volunteer training to really building up those personal relationships that build trust in our community. So it's my pleasure to introduce Mary Clute to you.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it very much. And I would ditto what Ellen and Steve has said about this not just being for members. I mean, the volunteers get so much out of it as well. We meet so many interesting people and make friends, and it's just a wonderful experience, I think, for everybody involved. One of the things that I find most useful for members are the social activities. Several people in Palisades Village were reluctant to go out to some of the social events that we had. But once they went and started to loosen up a little bit, they really now say, well, so when's the next one? And it helps with the isolation tremendously. And it's as you can see, I really enjoy it. Andrea talked about multi-generational. My granddaughters will always ask, how's Miss Kay? How's Miss Kay? How's Miss Pat? Oh, they're fine. Oh, tell them I said hello. It's just a very nice, warm thing, and I feel very lucky to be involved with it, and I think it's wonderful that the villages are working together, and we can take advantage of each other's resources. But thank you for having me here. Thank you, Ed.
Oh, you bet. And now the last village that we have featured today, we want to get to know is Glover Park Village, and we've got Patricia Clark from Glover Park. Tell us a little bit about Glover Park. Whoops, let me unmute you there. Hold on. Oh, you've got to click the unmute button there, Patricia. There we go.
Okay, thank you. I think you and I were clicking opposite ways. Glover Park Village started in 2010. We were an offshoot of the Citizens Association. If someone came to a meeting and said, what are you going to do about aging? And so out of that came a study, and then we decided to form a village. We were helped by Capitol Hill, DuPont, and Palisades, which I think were the main villages at the time. We are volunteer managed, and we don't charge any fees for our services that are provided, nor for our events and things. And many of our people who get services also contribute and volunteer. So we have, for instance, an architect who needs someone to come over and do gardening because he's too arthritic, or he and his wife. So he's taught art classes and given several lectures on the choosing the Vietnam Memorial design, and like many of the others have said, people really enjoy getting involved and giving as well as getting. So we try as hard as we can to find some way that people can stuff envelopes or do whatever to participate that way, as well as get services. But we of course don't pressure anybody to do that. I sometimes have to tell people, you've given other people your whole life, now please let us do something for you. Our volunteers are just sitting there waiting, wanting to help, so please don't hesitate. We serve the neighborhoods of Glover Park, Cathedral Heights, Massachusetts Avenue Heights, and along the, I guess you'd call it the southern side of Massachusetts Avenue from about Ward Circle down to the Italian Embassy, if that means anything. We were funded originally by the Citizens Association and the ANC, and have sent, and the community is always helping us with funding. And now, of course, we have grants from the Office on Aging, DACL. I think that pretty much covers the main thing. Oh, we do quite a few programs, or we have, COVID has stopped that somewhat, at the 2 recreation centers that are in our area. So they're right in the middle, and people love to go to them. And as others have said, they just love coming and seeing people that are familiar now to them. And often out of that will come someone confiding in us that they have some other problem, and could we help with that? So they get a level of trust through the social events, and then sometimes ask for more. Thank you.
I love it. Well, this has been a great introduction to 4 wonderful villages in the DC, in the District of Columbia. What I would say at this point, we can kind of open this up for a little bit of just sort of roundtable style discussion. And, you know, one of the things that I might throw out to you all is, do you guys have any sort of success stories or things that over the years in being involved with your village that you really helped somebody make a good connection or solve a problem or address something specific that you'd like to share?
I think I can share something a little unusual, because I know that villages, people have certain images when they think of villages. And one of the philosophies of our village at Georgetown Village is, I always tell our members, just ask. If it's not on the list, just ask. If we can help you, we will. And the flip side is, we always tell our volunteers, just say no. If you're busy, if you've got something to do, just say no, and we'll get another volunteer. It's fine. And so the story that I like to share about this is, we have a woman who is a member of the village, and she's one of our subsidized members, because we do offer subsidized memberships to people. So finances are not an issue in terms of preventing somebody from getting the assistance they need. And the woman called me and asked for a ride to the dry cleaner, because she had lost a lot of weight and she needed some steam taken in. And in talking to her, I kind of pressed, and was this fancy clothes, you know, what type of seam? And it turns out it was just a few skirts, and it was a straight seam. And we happened to have a volunteer at the time who was a college student, and somebody who had volunteered for me in another organization. So I kind of knew the young lady, and I knew she sewed as a hobby. She was in college. She didn't have a car. But she had come to a volunteer training and wanted to be involved with Georgetown Village, because I was now working there. And so what happened was, I contacted her and I said, well, I know you sew. Do you think? And she was thrilled, because she really wanted to be involved with the village, and there hadn't been a lot of opportunities due to her classroom schedule and the fact she didn't have a car. And the member was thrilled, because this was an opportunity to get what she needed done without having to go to a tailor, without having to do something fancy. So it definitely fit under the category of just ask, although she hadn't thought to ask for that. And I think in villages as a whole, I know we're not alone with this, that DC villages and really villages across the country, we just want to help in whatever way we can. And so people, you know, who want to join a village and want to be part of a village, really remember, just ask. We will do what we can to assist you as much as possible.
I think that I'd like to just talk about a different type of service that some of the villages offer, and that's a social worker. We were very fortunate to have get a grant to hire a case manager for our members, and you know, it's hard to embrace a new concept, because here we were supposed to be kind of social and just service oriented a little bit. And so it took a little while for people to build up a relationship with our case manager. But as time goes on and our case manager comes to a lot of our different social events, and she follows up with our members when they join. And the story that I want to share, I think, is just another beautiful example of a community coming together. There was a woman that was having serious medical issues, and the neighbors were concerned. Some of our volunteers, this was kind of early on, this is going back a few years, but they were very concerned, and the social worker was very involved in the care and the management. And it takes a village to make our village, and to make it special. But over time, we have seen a transformation in this woman, emotionally, physically, mentally. It's just amazing how she has transformed. And in the process, she had to give up driving, but it was no problem, because people are so giving and so loving to her that even during COVID, when she had dog issues, people were willing to take her dog to the vet, to, like, she wanted her dog to be a member because it was that special, that relationship. And things have fostered, and it again shows another example of taking a village and taking a community and really engaging and supporting your members with the whole village.
We have something at Capitol Hill Village where we tell people, call 911, then call the village. So if they have an injury, an accident, an illness, get your medical stuff taken care of, and then call the village, and we'll take care of everything else. You don't need to worry about, your house being empty. You don't need to worry about your pets. You don't need to worry about cleaning up, whatever, that sort of thing. We keep emergency keys for people, so we really are the backup in a way that kind of makes urgent issues much less traumatic. We just take some of the burden off folks, and give them that comfort that there's somebody always here that has their back. I would say, in fact, a lot of people kind of use the villages. I mean, certainly Capitol Hill Village, and I assume the other villages as well, we're kind of an insurance system. Some people who aren't using our services now are members because they know that they want us to be here when they need us. And it's that same kind of feeling of just knowing that somebody that you can call one place, we've got your back, we can take care of everything that you need, including, as Andrea says, some of the more complicated problems that really require a social worker, dealing with advanced directives or chronic illness and some of the management that goes into that, being a caregiver, all of those things. That's the things we have your back.
Absolutely. And I would just add to that part of the advantage of the village system, if you will, is the fact that we do all collaborate. And so if we don't have, if somebody calls us, we always tell people we're your in-town family, because we have such an international membership. People who have moved to the DC area and stayed, and their families overseas or someplace. But the other piece of that is when somebody calls with a request that we don't know, or we might not have a recommendation, we contact each other. I mean, it's not unusual for the DC Village email list to say, oh, can anybody recommend? And so by joining one village, you really do get the support and resources of the DC villages. And I think that that's an important thing to remember, is that, we're not, as much as we are standalone villages, we also work together very closely, and so that we can help each other and help our members much more than if we were just standalone villages.
I'd like to mention also that though most of our administrative and our service work is done by volunteers, we don't have a paid director. There's certain things that volunteers just really can't do very well unless they have that profession, and social work is one of those. So we've been able to use the same social worker that the other villages are. So when we have the need, we can give that very capable service without having to turn people away or anything like that. And I was going to say, one of the things that we did, I alluded earlier to people getting trust in the village by going to social events. And I used to drop one of the fellows off. He could walk downhill to the events, which were very regular at that time. And then I'd give him a ride back. And finally, he said he needed to have eye surgery, but he didn't really want to have it. he was blind in one eye and he was getting a cataract in the other. So through many conversations, I worked with him. I used to go every week and go over the schedule with him because he'd say, well, I just wrote and canceled my appointment. And anyway, we got him to reset the appointment, and we had people bringing him food. One young man who was going into medical school spent the night that the person finally had the cataract surgery. They didn't want him to be alone that night. People went in every day and helped him figure out his medications, mostly eye drops, I think. And we had people going in and visiting every day for several weeks, and we had it all on a schedule. And it was that kind of thing that he never would have asked strangers to do. So,
Steve, I'd like to mention that the collegial atmosphere of the villages, we have a tremendous support from the mayor's office in the DC, because not because, but in part because the first executive director of Capitol Hill Village was Gail Cohn, and she now is working in the mayor's office as a DC Office of Aging. And so we have a connection way back then from 2007 on. And so DC is tremendously interested in we've gotten all the council members on board. So it's very supportive. We've also connected in with Iona and some other offices where together the whole DC community is being helped by the DC government as well.
Mhm.
And I
It's
think
true.
that COVID was really a wonderful testimony to our government leaders, to see how proactive we were and how engaged and involved we were with our communities, of keeping our people safe, giving them the resources they needed to understand what was going on with COVID. We were, our newsletters and our communication with our members was vital to their well-being. And then when we were able to get them the vaccinations, we were able to help with the vaccination appointments, to drive them to their appointments. There was such a level of trust and care, and it was recognized by the DC government, seeing that we are the face of aging. We represent the folks that need services and a better quality of life.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that while larger agencies may have closed their doors, villages stayed open, and we did provide the information for our members' well-being. And when we couldn't meet in person, we made sure there were online activities so people were not feeling isolated. As we're all aware, senior isolation is a very prevalent issue for older adults in America and elsewhere. And so we really worked to prevent that during this past year and a half. And it did, as Andrea mentioned, show government our worth and other local organizations as well. We've received support from Washington Home. And, it's really been our chance to shine and to show the value of villages throughout the area.
Yeah, I think in
And
fact.
I might add that the villages have been instrumental in getting the DC government to recognize areas of need for senior citizens, putting park benches in within walkable distance so that you can stop and rest when you walk, making the Department of Transportation aware of what seniors need when crossing the street. Maybe the light is too short to cross the street, but villages in DC, all of them have been instrumental in getting the DC government to become much more aware of the needs of seniors.
Yeah, and one of the things,
Judy, you can address that.
Well, yeah, so that one of the things that Capitol Hill Village has is actually an advocacy committee. It's led by a board member, so it's got the board imprimatur on it. And this group has identified issues of importance to older adults throughout the district. One of the ones, in addition to some of the sort of the traffic and kind of environmental issues, one of the things we've been working on is the shortage of home health aides. When you think about aging in place, right, one of the things that many people will need at some point is some assistance with the activities, the instrumental activities of daily living, as well as the activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, things like that. the shortage of people serving in this workforce is really limits the ability of people to age in place, because it gets to a point where if you can't bathe and dress yourself, and there's nobody who can come and help you, you're going to have to go and live, in some kind of other environment, institutional. And so this is really vital to the aging in place, the option to age in place. And so our advocacy committee reaches out throughout the villages and throughout the city to get support, and just recently had some success in that. So I think, so Jeff's right, we take on, I wouldn't say we represent all, all seniors in DC, but we are a voice for many. And we take on issues that have a positive impact, not just on, white, wealthy, folks in the western part of the city, but really all older adults. We're all going to need or might need a home health aide at some point, and making sure that that's an issue that's addressed by the DC government is something really important.
Yeah, and I think that the model that you all have in collaborating with DC villages is something that all regions should aspire to, because the fact that you're working together, you're working with government, you're working with nonprofits, and you're working with private businesses, as many of you mentioned, getting sponsors and things of that nature. It's just amazing. And it's just super impressive what has gone on in the District of Columbia, supporting older adults and people of all ages. The fact is that those of us who are volunteering at some point in the future may need the services, and it's great to be givers and then have programs that we can be receivers if we ever need support.
If I can just say one thing about this is one of the things that, as a village director makes me, just sort of cringe a little bit inside when people say, I don't need a village, I'm still independent. And the idea really is that villages help, prevent the types of things that would cause you to lose your independence, right? When a fall becomes the beginning of a sort of downward spiral, right? The villages can step in and make sure that with our social workers that you're getting the best care, that you're choosing the best rehab center for you, or that you're getting the support at home so you don't have an additional fall. I mean, all of these things that can be the beginning of a really bad ending for people. Villages are in place to prevent. And we also, we have social members and we have, regular members, but at a certain point, we actually, somebody made what I think is a wise decision. We actually charge the same amount for those, because what we found is that social members are just, sort of one personal crisis away from wanting to be, a full member. And that's fine. It's not, there's no stigma to that. It's just, it's true. Any of us at any time can be in need of services, and with the right care, the right support, we don't lose our independence because of it. So I really just want to encourage, the engagement of younger people who are not, older adults, not quite elders, to really think seriously about villages and making sure that, that we're there when they need them, but also that we can help with the kinds of work that we do, even like advanced planning, advanced directives, thinking through long-term care insurance, all of the things that go into a vital and successful elderhood are things that the village can help with. And so I just want to put, sort of get that word out to people that, don't wait until you need help. We have a lot more to offer.
And there are many smaller things, I'm sure, that all of us do, but I was just thinking as you were talking, Judy, that we also do things like someone will go over and do laundry for a person, or they'll go over once a week and take their trash down a flight of stairs, or do gardening, or just small, change a light bulb, change a filter in the water, just different small tasks that their life is much better off for it. And hopefully they'll come to us when something more severe or more involved happens, but that they learn to know and trust the village with these smaller things.
And I do think it's also important to really focus on the health and wellness of what we do by offering strength and balance classes and really trying to get them to focus on nutrition and making sure that they go to doctor's appointments and they have all the information and the resources they need to have that quality of life as they age. I see it myself that, I do the same things that I've always been doing, and I have to work harder now to get the results that I need. But I am committed to that because I know as I age, I need to have my balance and my strength. And so that's my mission, to help others continue to that positive aging process. And, that's the health and wellness fitness side, but and really, I really want to focus on the volunteering. Volunteering can be done at any age, any time. And as Mary said, you receive so much more than you give. And it's such an important piece of having a sense of purpose. That is such a wonderful sense of purpose. And what could be better than having a relationship with someone else and helping them grow and learn in the process.
Thank you,
love it.
Andrea. And I just want to add to that one of the things, and you're right, the health and fitness and the wellness series that we run. I know we have a healthcare advisory committee. I know many villages do, made up of medical and scientific professionals. During the pandemic, we had a weekly COVID call where people could call in and ask questions and get as much information as we had so that we could share it so that our members would stay well. The other thing that we did was we offered one of our medical professionals gave a session and we did open this to the community in other villages on telehealth. How to see the doctor when you can't physically go in during the pandemic, how to use, the computer and be able to ask questions and to learn how to work within the new technology, which for many of our members was a bit of a challenge. And yet I think all villages can now say our members have learned how to Zoom, our members have learned how to use telehealth, our members have really learned how to stay connected, so that a silver lining from the pandemic is the new abilities and skills that the members have gained in terms of technology during this time to be able to stay well and healthy and connected.
I think
Great.
Jeff would agree with that, wouldn't you, Jeff? We've spent lots of time on Zoom together.
All right, guys. Folks, this has been a great discussion, and we've covered so many topics, and it's just really apparent to me what a great community each of you all are involved in, but collectively, what a great initiative the DC Villages are putting you all together. So with that, I want to thank everybody for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And
Good to
here-
see you all.
Yes, good to see you.